Summer fun is almost done, but NFL football just around the corner with training camp starting to get underway. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone Podcast. Andy Young still on vacation, so look who we found. Former Bills wide receiver Stevie Johnson in with us today. Stevie, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on and be rocking with the team.
So Steve is now part of the team. Fred Jackson taking a little time off to be a family man.
Just a little break. Just tagging in for a little bit, He'll be back.
So Stevie's tagging in. He'll be with us for all the Bills post-game shows coming up throughout the season, starting with our annual training camp special that's coming up a week from Tuesday night. We will be out at St. John Fisher ahead of the Buffalo Bills getting there with their first practice, Stevie, on Thursday or Wednesday morning. Let's get caught up real quick. I've been in this business covering the Buffalo Bills since 2001. Saw you come here from Kentucky, saw you turn into a really successful football player here. So it's really a thrill for me to be able to sit down and talk with you. But first, before we dive into that, what brought you out to Buffalo this week?
Yeah, thanks, Kev. I appreciate the compliments. What brought me out this week was our charity basketball tournament that we had with Crossbar, and proceeds went towards the YMCA, which is our partners of Buffalo Niagara, and just community events. We love to dive into the community and create, provide that vision, and that understanding of progressiveness and positivity, and it was a successful event, and now I'm here in Spectrum.
It's awesome to see what a lot of Bills players do after they leave the area, that they still come back and want to be part of the community out here like yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I had a special connection with this community, though. It wasn't just sports. I let them into my world completely. And,
you sure did.
And they accepted me for the good and the bad. So I think that's why I can come back out here and still make plays while I'm not playing a game.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's catch up. Like, I remember your first preseason game, or one of them. I think it was one of the games up in Toronto, or preseason game up in Toronto.
I have my whole name on the back of my jersey.
That's what it was. And I remember saying at the time, I'm like, the Bills may have found something here. And it's amazing that, the memory can click like that. And I remember being in the locker room talking to you after that game up there, and then to see what happened with social media. I was talking to people out in the newsroom before we came out. I had no idea what Twitter was, really, until you tweeted after the Steelers game. Yeah. And then everyone slowly jumped onto Twitter after that. When you look back at your career, and we'll focus on your time in Buffalo, what are some of the things that stand out to you from day one arriving with the team until you later left the Bills and went out to the 49ers?
It's funny. I would say how blessed I was through all of the times. Like, who has a negative play and turns it into a phenomenon,
right?
So when I look back at it, I don't really think about the games or, the good highlights or lowlights or whatnot. I just think about the situations and what happened from those situations. And it was all like positivity, So I'm just thankful for the time that I had with any team, but more importantly, the Buffalo Bills.
It's amazing that something like that happened in the Steelers game, where then you took to Twitter and you asked why God would play you like that. And that really snowballed your career and had a lot to do with what is now Bills Mafia, the people who supported you, the Bills fans that were upset about it. It really was a key part in making what is viewed at as Bills Mafia, that the entire nation now knows about, started with you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It started a strong identity, and it started off with support. That was the main thing that Bills Mafia started off of. People kind of got that misunderstood when they hear the Mafia part and they think it's all bad or negative. But they was uplifting me. They was supporting me when I opened up the gates through social media. I could have kept that in, but I wanted to be that type of person to let the outside know, let those kids know the real feelings of these athletes, and I didn't know, like, again, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know it was going to become a phenomenon. So when I look back, it's just a blessing, man. But wow, I was a part of that. You know, I didn't expect or plan for that.
And then to build on it, we were talking before the podcast started that I was trying to describe to my mom who you were, what player you were. They live up in New Hampshire, so they're Patriots fans. And I pointed out one of your touchdowns. You went over to the Riflemen, the Minutemen in the end zone, fake fired up in the air, went to the ground, I think, if I recall this correctly. There's a number of those celebrations that you had. The Why So Serious one, always on the top of everyone's list. Is there one thing that sticks out to you more than the others on when you did that? Maybe what the reaction was from the coaching staff after you did that and your teammates as well.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I was just talking to my brother about this before we got here. RIP to our coach, Dwayne Osteen, former NFL champion with the Los Angeles Raiders. But I used to get in trouble in Pop Warner because I used to celebrate. I used to do the high steps from the 50-yard lines, you know. That was just always my style. So when I got to the league, I wanted to let kids see, hey, if you handle your business, go ahead and have fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be getting these type of fines, but then when I started getting the fines, I was already locked in my mindset that I'm doing positive, so I'm not doing negative things. So I wanted to keep pushing the issue, and my teammates, they supported it. You know, they supported it. They knew I was me, and I wasn't being malicious. When it comes to the coach, he had to bench me, and it did cost me. So, you know, that's something that I don't want to like let the kids see, like, that you keep going until you get benched. No, that's not right. You know what I'm saying? Listen to your coach ultimately. But I was kind of stuck in my ways too.
Do you think it would be different now, received differently
Absolutely.
now, just because of all the thing? I mean, I can't remember the wide receiver's name, but he had a cell phone under one of the Joe Horn. That's who it was. Of course, T.O., and we all know the stuff T.O. did. It seems like this day and age, this might be received a little bit better than back then when you guys started doing it. It was, come on, act like a pro. There was a lot with the Patriots way of doing things and act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
But it's nice to
Nothing wrong with that.
see a little more fun, though.
Yeah, I love to have options. You know, I think the league now is full of options. They give you the option to either shake hands or go back to the huddle or celebrate with your teammates. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it should be. And, you know, we brought up T.O. and Joe Horn. Those guys, they was getting in trouble too. I think that was a tough situation for them to end up doing and going through it, because they probably got fined more, you know, at that time. But those were the guys that I seen. They caught my attention. So, you know, I felt like the league opened up to it, and now they understand there's all types of guys in the league. Those that will celebrate and those that won't. And it's okay.
I always remember Billy White Shoes Johnson as a kid for the Falcons, and the Redskins back then had the fun bunch where they all jumped up, and then the fun kind of teetered away, and then it started coming back with guys like you and T.O. That kind of stuff aside, when you look at your career, let's talk about some of the battles you went up against, some of the top cornerbacks. Of course, you're in a division with the Patriots during your entire time. The Jets had Darrelle Revis.
And Antonio Cromartie.
And Cromartie when you were – so the battles were tough, but you got yours when you were out there.
Yeah, I had to, and that's a blessing to, you know, my upbringing, you know, believing in myself, believing in my skills, and that's why I have a passion to go out there to the youth and tell them the same things that I had to tell myself, you know, believe in your skills, because to beat those guys that you was naming and stay alive in that division, you had to have something different. And my difference was basketball, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I utilized basketball and believed in my abilities and worked it into my craft. And, you know, I was able to sustain, you know, some positivity in this league, in this division, I would say.
Any game in particular stick out to you on your top performance against someone who maybe the rest of the NFL world were like, well, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to have a hard time getting it to Stevie Johnson? I always think of the Bengals game with the Why So Serious.
That was
a couple of Patriot games that you played really well in. The game against the Carolina Panthers, where I think you got the game winner at the
was
very
special.
end, that really sticks out in my mind as one of the games where you were the hero of the game.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked that Carolina Panther game because it was big for our rookie quarterback at the time, and the city obviously had a great time too, enjoying that comeback. The Cincinnati game, I would say that would be one that's most memorable in a sense of me and Fitz having personal conversations, and I had messages from my agent talking about this cornerback who was on that other team. I think it was Hall, who was the highest paid. And aside from the business talk, just the specialness of me and Fitz having a conversation like, hey, have you ever had a comeback before? And this was during the timeout break, and we just having a casual convo. Hey, bro, just go to me, and we gonna make it happen. And then things was happening for defense, and Fitz went to me, and we ended up making a comeback, and that was pretty special.
I think Gus Johnson was on the call of that game
Gus
too.
Johnson was on there.
He made it so exciting.
Wow.
That was one of the games where I was at home watching it. The whole thing, just all of it combined together, was just from a fan perspective, was a great experience watching what you guys did that day.
Indeed.
Anything as far as home games, the Bills crowd, Bills Mafia, their relationship with you, and how that still sticks today.
Yeah, I would even point out that Pittsburgh game, because with that Pittsburgh game, as low as I felt, I didn't hear nothing on the outside like negativity, like any slander or nothing, right. And I literally felt like I let down the whole city in at that time. Teammates, they came to help me up. I would say after that. So after that, I'm feeling embarrassed to even come into the facility. But this was something that Lee Evans did, just special stuff. He had a highlight tape ready for me. Hey, Stevie, come in here and took me into the thing. Highlight tape ready for me, and remember this. This is who you are. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot going on, and he did that mentorship. And that sparked my mind, and now that's what I do with younger kids now, because life's not going to be perfect, I thought things would be perfect because I worked hard, but when that thing happened with the drop, like how does that happen? You know what I mean? I didn't understand. I never had no failure, no failing time like that until that time happened. So, but what Lee did, that was the support, support from the team, and nobody looked at me different. Hey, let's get back to it, So I think that was pretty sweet and special for the Bills players and my teammates.
How about your relationship with Ryan Fitzpatrick? I've talked with Fred Jackson ad nauseum at times with the importance of these relationships: quarterback, running back, quarterback, receiver, quarterback, tight end. We'll get to the current team in a little bit, but when I look at it, I mean, you always talked about Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and the running back there, Edgerrin James, and how that was the big three. You look at the Cowboys with Michael Irving, and I mean, the Bills, this was in the middle of the playoff drought, but I mean, when you look at that offense, it was you, it was Fitz, it was Fred Jackson on a yearly basis, who were the guys to count on. Yeah. Maybe
we putting up numbers too. We put up numbers,
I mean, that was a hot start that one year. And then there was the game up in Toronto.
Seattle?
Yeah, I think it was Seattle, where Seattle.
They came out hot.
Yeah.
But and then let's talk about like the new age football too.
Yeah.
We didn't start throwing the ball until late, third down maybe, or when we get behind the chain. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So nowadays, I think with what we're seeing now with Josh Allen, that he's literally a 3.0 version of a Kelly to Fitzpatrick to being who he is, the golden child. You know? So it's pretty cool that we got a playmaker like him. Imagine that being back in the day. I mean, that's what we would have been, what we've seen come into fruition with Josh Allen from Fitzpatrick.
What was it like when T.O. came for that one season?
For me, it was special because I'm from San Francisco. My first game was going to Candlestick Park, and then when T.O. came to the Bills, it's like, dang, I get to watch the person that I end up that motivated me to become a receiver and have fun when I score after I handle business. And what I seen was a spark. This guy, he was probably, 36 or something at the time.
Yeah.
Every day he was lined up at one-on-one calling out DBs. Come on, line up. You line up, calling the rookies out. Everybody come line up. And he the OG. And that was just good to see. You know, that was good to see. It was special.
Was the hype a bit much surrounding him with what the thought was from the fans that he added to the team that could get the team into the playoffs as a player on the team? How were you guys, not necessarily personally, but when he were you the same as the fans? Like, this was probably the missing piece to help get us to the next level.
He was a piece that was missing, but I think there was more that we could have had, though. You know, again, like, I wasn't playing as much. I don't think I played that much that year. That was my second year. But you know, you don't have no creator like that right now. We was in between quarterbacks. I think it was Trent and Fitz came in later on.
Yeah.
You know, when he started really slinging it. I think JP got in, but you know, there's a lot of things going on within the coaching staff and JP. So it was a lot of things that we was missing, but he would have been a vital piece, and he did put up 900 or 800 yards here.
Yeah.
You know, although, you know, quarterback got switched up after week 5 or so after Arizona.
Yeah, how is dealing with that? I mean, I remember at the time, I think Trent got a concussion. Yeah. Fitz came in. I think it was a game against the Tennessee Titans where Fitz had that bomb to T.O. in that game. And it seemed like once Fitz came in,
you could just see there
right.
was something else. There's something that we can use with this. But shout out to the Buffalo Bills too for that because I think Trent Edwards was a first-round draft pick, and
right.
you don't usually at the time you're not putting them in the back, you know, to put in I believe Fitz was 7th round. Guy that from nowhere, no lineage with Buffalo, but you see what he can do.
He was from Harvard. I don't know if you know that.
Well, yeah, I meant like his original team.
Oh, no. I'm just kidding around because every broadcaster said that every time Fitz took the field that he was from Harvard. But yeah, I think it was with the Rams.
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Then every team in the AFC East except the Patriots.
And then coach took a chance with it and put him in, and you know things woke up, and that kind of snapped into. You know, the evolution of Bill's offense, you know.
We had we had around March Madness, we did our own bracket with different Bills topics. One of them was the top player from the drought years for the Bills.
Okay,
and
who got that?
Kyle ended up getting it.
He's
I think, unfortunately,
for sure.
You went up against Fred Jackson in like the semifinals.
Yeah,
you had a tough bracket coming out.
The Incredible Hulk.
But when you guys who are part of those teams look back at what you went through to where the team is now, is there a sense of pride that you guys helped build a sort of foundation that was left there with Kyle still in place when this whole transition kind of started?
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't even take it as far and be as up there boastful to say we built the foundation. I would just say we provided a foundation for a fan base to really support, you know. So the fan base kind of built it. You know, we was just trying to break goals and get through to the next level. Unfortunately, we didn't. But like you said, with that foundation that we all built as far as guys going out into the community and not just being players, you know, and now seeing it coming together nowadays with community and the players being as one and the coaching staff being in the community, which is awesome. So, it's just so much pride to see these teams doing as successful as they are.
What do you think of those uniforms you had when you first got here? I could not stand them. Don't know why. And I know, you know, it's a little off topic, but it comes up every now and then on some of the worst decisions the Bills ever made. And that inevitably becomes one of the top two was switching away to those Arena League uniforms. But then the ones they have now that you had towards the end, super cool.
They're sweet, yeah. But, you know, like yourself, you know, we don't really pay attention to that. We just put on whatever and we look cool with it. You know, we look fly. You know, I didn't really trip. But I did want to wear the 90s uniforms at least once. I think those were special. I think that's where a lot of us caught the attention of the Buffalo Bills, and I think to pay homage to them at least once a year, that would be pretty cool to have the red helmets, the blue tops, and white pants.
Yeah.
The red socks.
Maybe that comes back.
Yeah,
I think they would have announced it by now if it was this year.
And this would be the team to do it with Josh Allen leading the charge.
Maybe they wait until they get ready to open the new stadium, kind of christen the new stadium.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I didn't like the horse collar, though.
Hated
I
that.
didn't like the horse collar. That was one thing that I didn't like.
Or they said it looked like a toilet seat wrapped around someone's
neck. I never heard that one, but wow.
Especially the Bills with the white one. It was like
that was interesting. I didn't understand that one. I got to do the modeling shoot for the New Jerseys in Las Vegas, so I seen them early.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, are they gonna finish the white around it or something? And it was like, no, this is how it is. The Nike people. This how I'm like.
Because you play better if you feel you look good out there.
Yeah.
You might not believe this, but I did play football wide receiver at one point in time.
I knew we had something in common.
Up into college, Sacred Heart University, shout out. Everyone gets annoyed that I bring that up all the time. But hey,
you got a rep.
Got out of high school, made it to college, didn't play it down, but I was on the team as a practice squad guy. But
we need that.
But that will bring us to now just a couple of wide receivers, talking wide receiver as we look at the Bills team. Stevie, we'll start to get into this with camp around the corner right now.
Love it.
Your thoughts on the team, first of all, moving on from Stephon Diggs.
Shout out to Steph. He did his thing here. He helped restart a fire. So shout out to him. But I definitely think that the squad leveled up. You know, I think the business suits up top saw what we were leaving. Like he had like 3,000 yards, I was 3,000 plus. We didn't go out and try to find one player to get us 3,000. No, we went and got a gang of players. You know, and I think that was a brilliant move, you know, by the staff to elevate our team.
I love Stephon Diggs, like his style. I thought he did as much to help Josh Allen get to where we view Josh Allen now as anybody else did, for sure. But I'm also one of those guys that subscribes to sometimes not having that one superstar player and having role players, and this will be a topic until the season starts and we actually see what happens. Is it better off at this point for Josh Allen not worrying about getting Stephon Diggs X number of balls thrown his way and now have Josh be the trigger guy that just gets to decide, okay, this guy's open. I don't have to worry about getting it there.
Right, yeah. And I think that's the great thing about the evolution of the offense, and Josh included, more importantly, because he don't need that one person. You know, unfortunately, like we said, Diggs, we like him, but now he can go move on to help someone else establish themselves. But Josh has evolved into the person who can lead like the Tom Brady did for years. You know, he didn't have a main guy, but he had guys that were pretty special. Welker, Edelman, you know, Brandon Lloyd is one that people may not speak as highly, but they're big pieces.
One of the best catches I've ever seen was Brandon Lloyd at the Bills.
Yeah, you know, so that's what I'm saying. I think that's what we're picking up on in the tight end position.
Right.
Having those two tight ends, I love it. I felt Dalton Kincaid could have had 100 catches last year. He'll be on his way.
It's hard to believe. I've been keeping an eye on ESPN's doing like a top 10 list of players at each position. They talk to coaches, executive scouts. It's not just a popularity poll. Kincaid, 1 year, looked really good. He's in their top 10 list of tight ends going into this year. And you know, when they drafted him in the first round, everyone wanted a wide receiver. The Bills explained it as this is like a slot wide receiver, but in a bigger body. And we got glimpses of it last year. And it just, the thought that this can be taken to the next level with all these other guys out there. Khalil Shakir, huge fan of Khalil's. I know
he's consistent. He's patient. I love Shakir. I felt like with Dalton being a rookie and showing what he showed, go ahead and give him all the experience of any type of pass or what. Just keep feeding him.
Yeah.
Because year 2, year 3 is going to be even dominant. I think he's still on pace to being one of the greatest in Bills history as a tight end. But I think we can force feed him. Let's force feed it.
I think so. And I mean, he had some rookie moments, the fumble in the Bengals game,
Yeah,
and,
we're
and
not
some
perfect.
learning
Yeah,
moments.
yeah.
But like you said, young in your career, you take that and build off it and
Right.
learn from it.
And there's
It's going to
enough
help you
pieces
out.
on our team to where if you do go through that, all right, let's run. Let's get to our running back room now. We got some studs back there, and then if you want to just talk about receiver room, we got plenty guys we can go to there until you get back on your feet. But we're gonna need that 4 to 5 to 6, 10-yard catches, finding the holes, from our tight ends, not only the receivers,
Yeah.
So it's important to get them real comfortable, him and Knox.
So when we look at the Bills wide receivers, Keon Coleman, let's talk about him for a second. Personality through the roof, I think, from just his introductory press conference to what you've seen from him in bits and pieces here and there. A lot was put on, well, he's not the fastest guy. But it seems like, and I can even say this with Dalton Kincaid, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the splashiest guy, but he seems like the right fit for the role he's going to have here with Josh Allen in the Bills offense. And I think Keon Coleman could be in line for a pretty big rookie year where, as the season goes on, he might end up being, him and Kincaid are the two go-to guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't even let that fog his mind up thinking about being a go-to guy. Just be patient, be consistent in what you're doing, keep learning, getting comfortable and familiar with moving and reading defenses on the run, and just staying patient because it's a long season. And if you stay patient, not cloud your mind with all the extra, you will take off during that playoff time where we need that youth and that spark, and you may. If you're not a 1,000-yard receiver going into the playoffs, all we need is a couple big plays in the playoffs to keep that hype up about you if you care about the hype,
Well, Kincaid had that. He looked pretty good in the Steelers game, had a touchdown in it, had a couple of key catches. Khalil Shakir, I look at the loss to the Chiefs, and he got banged up at one point and jogged off to the tunnel. And at that stage and where the Bills were in the season, I thought that maybe at the time would have been a bigger loss than if something happened to Diggs, because Shakir just looked the role. I know he's working with Eric Moulds during the offseason. He just looks like, for a guy who a year ago right now, Stevie, we were all saying he was a cut possibility, Khalil Shakir. He really had to have a solid camp or he might get cut. Now I think, he's slotted in as the top wide receiver if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, so the way I seen it last year was his role was needed, as far as the guy that can find the holes, that can find the soft spots. Diggs was the quick twitch, spark guy, kind of a straight liner. Gabe, we would have wanted him to be like the find the holes guy too, but he was a take the top off the defense guy too. So Shakir was like the only piece, which is why I said Kincaid should have been force fed so that he can have that role also. Now what we've done is we've added more Khalil Shakirs on the team. When I say that, I think about Mac Hollins. He's a savvy receiver that can find holes, and he's not really going to pay. You're not going to pay too much attention about how he run a route or the fanciness of it, but he's going to get where he needs to be for the quarterback, and that's just what Josh needs now. Guys that can get to where they need to be for him.
Mac Hollins getting a lot of buzz during the offseason throughout mini camps and OTAs and stuff that, you look down, you see Curtis Samuel, Chase Claypool, Marcus Valdes-Scantling are all big names that even the casual viewer knows because of the teams that they were on. But Mac Hollins is the guy Coach McDermott was talking about, other players were talking about, that is there and can add something to this roster.
Yeah, he can add the consistency that Shakir did. Like you said, when Shakir went down late, okay, that kind of sparked, I guess, someone upstairs' mind to say we need probably another Shakir type.
Yeah.
And they went out and did that, and I understood that when we got Mac Hollins, okay, let me go look at some of his tape. In Atlanta, I noticed that off top. He know how to find the holes in the soft spot. And that's good. That's great to hear. So I'm looking forward to seeing this offense because we have so many weapons. When you say MVS, who else did we get? Oh yeah, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah,
those are weapons. They can make the play, but you can use them in certain ways.
Oh, yeah.
So we need that, and we have multiple of them, which is great, and including the backfield, guys that can do the same thing. So we got a pretty balanced team, I feel.
Is there a surprise guy in that group that you think, because of the different roles for each of the wide receivers, that maybe Chase Claypool doesn't make the roster and is a camp casualty? Or, I mean, there's only so many spots with all these names at the wide receiver position, and that they're going to if you can play special teams and you're further down the list of wide receivers, that maybe a bigger name guy who doesn't play wide receivers, they move on from him to keep a guy who can do both special teams and play wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that's always an interesting topic. And as a player, I like to talk about the guys that we somewhat know is kind of going to be there.
Yeah.
When you dive in that deep, it's like we got to wait until training camp to really see the competition, see how the preseasons play out. I'm an optimistic guy. I want to see the guy at the bottom of the depth chart make the team. So, but should we spend a lot of time talking about it right now? Let's wait till we make a couple plays, and then let's get back to it.
It is right around the corner. I mean, training camp's coming up. We'll talk defense real quick. A lot of veteran leadership for the Bills. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. No longer with the team. You have Von Miller, who you hope, as a Bills fan, gets back to the Von Miller he was before that knee injury. So there are questions there, but there's also cool stuff like Matt Milano is coming back. Terrell Bernard and what happened there. There will be questions, I think, with the defensive backfield going into the season, but we could get a lot of answers, though, Stevie, when camp gets underway at St. John Fisher.
Indeed. My main focus on defense now is Kaiir Elam. I feel like he's a superstar, and the things that he can do over there on that corner can be similar to how they utilize Revis. Now you can bring more attention or help with other positions with either the safeties or whatever, because I know Razul is still here, and
Razul Douglas,
he's still a great lockdown.
That was an incredible grab,
a great pickup. So I think with how Kaiir can play, though, whether it's bump or off or whatnot, that'd be great for our team, our defense. It'd be very helpful if we had the two lockdown cornerbacks in a league like this that's very pass happy. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and I think Cole Bishop, the draft pick. Maybe not right away, but he seems like he's in line to have a role early and often in the season in the safety position, with so many questions at the safety position.
Indeed. And you got to love the fact that he was a captain on his team in college. You getting a guy who knows all the responsibility. He's there for the team. He had the C on his chest, so we know everything that comes with it. So I'm glad to add a guy like that in our backfield, because we had some all-pros back there, some studs.
Any question in your mind with the pass rush? I mean, there was nothing against the Chiefs in that final game of the season in the playoffs that left a lot of people scratching their head as to why not even really a hit on Patrick Mahomes in the backfield. But I think they have a good nucleus there. And I think with all the injuries that they dealt with at the end of the season, you as a former player will say to me, well, you can't blame injuries for us losing games. But I think you can in that scenario with just the absurd amount of injuries at one position.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I've been on a couple teams that's been plagued with the injury bug, from a year with Buffalo and then that season with the Chargers. We don't want to use that as an excuse, but, man, it's tough at certain times, and the Bills did run into it. I think that's why they're juicing up the team, and I think it's good for the guys that was there last year. They see what's going on. They know that there's opportunity when you hear about Bernard stepping in and becoming who he has become, how Milano's come into that guy, even though he came off of a whole year of healing himself. They see that they got action at being that guy here too. And with this community that they have is more motivation. So I think our guys will have their ears pinned back and be reckless.
You mentioned Kaiir Elam, and Rivas in the same breath, going up against Rivas as many times as you did. What do you see there as someone who went up against Rivas, and now what the possibility is with Kyer?
I felt like it was supreme confidence that their coach had, you know. When you know you have a guy that can basically lock down a whole side, you can do more with your team. You know, you can give other people less responsibility, and you can give some of those guys that's on that team a little bit more responsibility if they can handle it. It's just vital to have a guy like that, and I use that analogy real quick because people can understand. Okay, Rivas, that's shutting down the whole side. Like Deion Sanders, that's shutting down the whole side. Those defenses are dominant because of that one main piece, you know. And yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And having the guys that we have, there's a linebacker Williams. I seen the spark in him. I'm looking forward to seeing how he do this season too. So
yeah,
it's some good things to look forward to.
His role will increase. So a little over a week till training camp starts. As a former player, this time of year, you get the
warrior mode. Warrior mode, baby.
First off, let's go back to your playing days. How you were about this time of the year, knowing that you guys were going to be in the dorms at St. John Fisher and I can't remember, were they still doing double sessions when you were on the Bills?
They did. I did get a glimpse of that for 2 years, and then I was a part of the switch up also. But what they did was, okay, you practice at nighttime, go to sleep, then you come back in the morning. So it's still kind of like a double day, you know.
Yeah, no, I remember, and then they switched to just walkthroughs in the morning, which was, I can't speak as a player, but as a reporter, they'd be like, well, you got to be there for the walkthrough. Well, there's not going to be much to report from the walkthrough, but if something does happen, but that was always something, that turf field at Fisher, just standing there watching a walkthrough was rather obnoxious.
Yeah, it's a little like the double days I didn't mind it. Again, I was young coming in, so I just thought that's what it was about, you know. At Pop Warner, we went through double days. The NFL, you go through double days also. It was more so the vets that already knew the game that was more so complaining about it. I thought the walkthroughs kind of was a waste of time, but in a sense of we understood what it was for. I thought we could have just practiced there. But in that midst of training camp, it was great for the fans to come out and see that. You know, it was just a different feeling because we practiced a lot with no fans around.
Yeah.
So with me being who I was, obviously I enjoyed going up to training camp and that whole experience, walking through the dorms and having the fans right there on the side.
Oh yeah.
You know, getting to say what's up. Like I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I was a kid going to the San Francisco training camp, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's cool that they still do it. A lot of teams are just having training camp at their facility. Right. Who knows what happens once the new stadium is built for the Bills? Did you like being away and being in dorms to kind of come together as a team, as they say, before the season starts?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Like I said, I like options. You know, we wasn't there the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, you spend your 2 or 3 weeks or so there, and then they allow you to go home. Some of the vets, you can go home from the beginning, you know, so I thought that was cool. Either way, I didn't really mind it.
All right. Bills and Steelers comes out today that they're going to have a joint practice. You ever take part in a joint practice?
Yes, I did. I don't want nothing to do with anything happening with Bills Steelers. You know, I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna be super quiet when it comes to that week every time.
That's
every
fair.
year. You don't hear me speak or tweet or none of that. But go Bills forever.
That's fair.
But joint practice, no, they're cool though. We enjoyed. I had one with the Ravens when I was with the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
And it was cool just seeing how they did things, hearing from their players. You know, I thought it was pretty cool.
All right. Midsummer Classic, Stevie, this week. Major League Baseball. I have not followed more than one game. I'm a Red Sox fan, but it's just hard with so many other things to do with your life and the pace of baseball. And now we get to the All-Star game. Your thoughts on like All-Star games in general, like football, basketball, hockey, baseball. They used to be a big thing. When I was a kid, they were all a big deal because you got to see all your favorite players play at the same time. I think a lot of that luster is now gone, and it's just a matter of habit that they still do it. Or I mean, I know the NFL basically has done away with it.
I mean, I like that they still do it for the same reasons that you said. You know, you get to see your guys be on the same team. But when you say it lacked the luster, maybe that's what it is, because now all of the guys are really being on the same team throughout the season now.
That's true.
You know, that's taking a little bit of the spark away. But yeah, no, it's still a good thing, man, to celebrate and honor those athletes and having them, you know, be in one location, you know, and one certain spot for players and fans to be able to see them.
I think as far as all-star games go, the baseball one is still the one you can most likely settle down, and because it's baseball. It's not football to flag football. It's not an NBA game turned into no defense in a dunk fest, or the hockey one where the scores are like 30-28 at the end of the day.
Yeah, you really got to get into baseball or that softball world. And I was introduced to it recently because my daughter, she's a softball player.
Cool.
And so now we watch some baseball here and there to pick up on some skills. I'm not as savvy and vetted to it, but you know, when my daughter's into something, I guess I got to do what I can and learn some things.
All right, Stevie, we usually end the podcast, me and Andy, on catching up on what you're watching on Netflix or Hulu or some sort of series, and it's usually not sports related that we get into, but I found myself, and I don't like the regular Hard Knocks training camp, but the one that's out right now on Max following the New York Giants around during the offseason is coming across as, for fans that kind of know football but don't really know what the offseason is all about, it's informative and it's enjoyable to watch. I've been watching that. And then I forgot that wide receiver Netflix special was out. I think they follow 5 wide receiver. Well, Kittle is one of them, so one of them's a tight end. But
nice.
Like they did with the quarterbacks a year ago.
That's what I was thinking about, you know, because I dive into our mentorship. With Exposure Academy, and when I seen the QB one is what it's called,
right?
I just thought that was pretty cool, giving that insight, you know, letting the kids see the lifestyle of those guys that's at that level. I guess, you know, that if you want to be on that level, you go through these type of things, and they showed everything, the good, the bad. But that's the whole mental of the game, you know? You got to be able to get through that type of stuff. And I thought that was a pretty neat docuseries that they had out, the QB1.
Yeah, so now wide receiver is out, so you can check that one out too. Cool. So that's out there. That's why we share this.
Only thing, the kiddo, he's already in the NFL. So they doing NFL guys. The QB1 was high school.
So there was a quarterback one that followed – oh, God, I'm going to blank on all these names. So they were NFL quarterbacks. I think David Carr might have been one of them.
Okay, I haven't seen that one then. I only seen the high school one.
Yeah, so this is 4 or 5 NFL pass catchers, I guess we call it, that's out there on Netflix. So now you know that that's out there, and you can do that as well.
Pretty neat.
All right, Stevie Johnson now on the Buffalo End Zone team for the upcoming season. We will be at St. John Fisher Tuesday evening for our special. Stevie will be Skyping in on that one. You have other things to do back out on the West Coast. So Stevie will join us for that one. He'll be with us for the episode leading up to the season and then all the post-game ones. Stevie, and here's the problem. When we started doing this, the Bills had basically all 1 o'clock games. There's some late nights coming up for you and I.
That's a good thing for us, though. That's a good thing for the Bills Mafia, you know?
Absolutely. Stevie, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining the team, and we look forward to the upcoming season.
Thanks, Kev.
And I'm Kevin Carroll. We'll catch up with you at some point next week while training camp kicks off.